Hello everyone, it's me Varus, and in this video I'll be giving you an update on the incoming US weather, especially for New Year's and beyond. So if you do enjoy this video, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing it with all your friends and family. Let's get right into it. So a lot has actually changed since last video, mainly in the longer range. But let's start out, as we always do, with National Weather Service alerts and indices. Don't have the surface map pulled up this time. Just alerts, but we can get to that in a bit. We'll start in the west, work our way east, where in the Pacific Northwest we actually have some dense fog advisories, as we have a little low pressure off the coast causing some lower clouds and dense fog. In California we have some coastal flood watches and some winter storm watches over here in the blue, obviously with the higher elevation, higher terrain. Southwest California, we're experiencing some flood watches and wind advisories as well. Relatively quiet elsewhere. A couple of freeze watches or freeze warnings out in deep South Texas. And then over here in Wisconsin, some special weather statements, likely with this winter weather that we're currently having ongoing, mainly the lake effect machine cranking in Michigan and Wisconsin, including the UP. Much further, south and east over here in Georgia, most of Georgia, we have some red flag warnings, as we have some pretty windy conditions and dry conditions, and so you get those red flags. And then down here in Florida, I mean, look at this, frost advisories and freeze warnings all throughout the state, except obviously for the southern portions. If we do kind of get a little zoom in here, I was mentioning in my last video Orlando would probably get into it. There you have it. This is more cold weather advisory though, so not really frost advisory. That could change though. We'll have to see how it plays out. Cold weather advisories though, and you can get frost with 36 degrees as long as the skies are clear. So it's something to watch out for. And even where there are not cold advisories, here a little kind of go down towards like Miami, it's still going to be chilly. Lows in the upper 40s, so definitely unseasonably chilly, and you could have falling iguanas in portions of the northern state, slower, kind of sluggish iguanas in the middle portion of the state, and they should be fine closer to like Miami or Fort Lauderdale. Over here in the northeast, it looks pretty active, mainly these winter weather advisories with the lake effect snow, which has honestly been making it quite far off the lakes. And then here we have our wind advisories for portions of New England, some special weather statements over here in northern Maine, and then some special weather statements over here from DC to Baltimore. Maybe we'll get to extend up to Philly, as there could be a little snow system that makes its way through this evening, through especially tomorrow morning. Shouldn't be too impactful, but we'll talk about that right now because it's affecting pretty populated areas. So it's kind of just the surface map right now of the eastern U.S. Because there's nothing much going on in the west. So here we have a little upper level vort kind of dropping down. This should start moving its way out. Was kind of responsible for cranking up the lake effect snow. As it moves its way out, you get another little piece of energy. It starts diving through kind of Chicago area. You'll see kind of sweep down south. And what that does, you can kind of see it come through. It doesn't dig much. It's not a very strong energy, but it's there. And you do see kind of a little bit of a buckling of the trough. And so north of this energy, generally in this area, you start to get a little breakage of some snowfall that you could get. Obviously, temperatures are more than cold enough. So you could honestly get a little coat of snow. And so the roads are cold and everything. So even if you just get a little coat, the roads could get kind of treacherous. So we're going to have to watch that little impulse. Another one right behind it, that's further north. Kind of accompanying it, though. It's a very small shortwave trough, but it makes its way through tomorrow morning. And then the bigger one kind of comes through New Year's Eve. This could bring even more widespread snows. This one a little more, I'd say, targeted further north towards like New York City, Boston area, and coastal Mass. But it does dig south enough to get Philly possibly in it. We'll have to see exactly how much it digs, but it is pretty potent. But again, neutral tilt, moving fast, not going to be a big storm until it gets kind of offshore, where even Cape Cod might need to watch out for some heavier snows. But especially once it gets into the kind of Newfoundland, especially Nova Scotia, is where that snow could be even more impactful. And then another little shortwave. This one's much more north, more strained out, probably just enhancing lake effect. So we can go to the surface map. You can see that here's your energy with that first trough right there, bringing some light snows throughout the Midwest, northern Midwest. RGEM kind of shows it very weak. Some models are more kind of, I'd say, aggressive. I'll show you that. But here you get your little breakout of snow, mainly also because the Appalachians absorb most of that snow, but you do get a little bit of an energy transfer, and so you get that snow. And then your next impulse kind of rides it right behind, and here you could get something more substantial from about New York City in north and east. You will see a little low that tries to pop off. Very, very quick moving, but could bring some snow showers through Boston to New York City. There is your low. Cape Cod could get a heavier burst of snow, but again, only lasts for a couple hours. And behind that, you do get some like line of snow squall. It's been pretty consistent all modeling. So DC, Philly, up through New York City again. You probably have to watch, even if you don't get the main bulk of any steady light snow, you could watch a little burst of snow through early morning New Year's Day. And then this starts to, you can see, become a much more substantial storm once it gets to Nova Scotia, because that's when the trough goes negative. So that's the kind of RGEM. We can go over to the NAM, see if it shows anything more interesting. There's your little impulse of snow. Here's your New Year's Day snow. With the squall line, though, it's much more broken. And I'd say HRRR, kind of just going through all models here. It's a little more aggressive, I'd say. There you have your little more snow popping off. Could last for up to 3-4 hours. So could like coat up to at least, I'd say, 3 hours. So could coat areas from, again, DC up probably through Philly. Best chance south and east. And then here, we'll go to 18Z just to see that New Year's storm. And this one kind of breaks out snow much further south as well. And there's your little squall line right behind it. So it's gonna be a couple wintry days. Nothing too substantial. We can take a look at FE3 IRES, which is honestly I would say very, very aggressive, but more widespread with that snow. You can even see it trying to get up into New York City for the New Year's Day, and then there's your squall line. So lots of agreement. Exact specifics still obviously a little uncertain, just given how small these mesoscale dynamics are in play, but it's something to watch out for. We'll go over to the west now, where we're going to watch that atmospheric river come through as you get this low pressure retrograding north. You'll see it kind of go in that general direction, and so it brings a wave of precipitation along, and that's kind of why you have these winter storm watches in place. But it is much warmer. It's also bringing much warmer air. You have this big ridge spike up through Alaska, while you get that trough in the east, classic positive PNA, and so you get lots of rain, lots of widespread rain in the west. Obviously some snow in the highest of elevations. This kind of falls apart as it heads north, and you get another little impulse, okay? And then another one, you can see this low redevelopment. This could be a little colder, bring more snow to the mountains, more heavy rain to the lower elevations in the valleys. So it's something to really watch out for. It's going to be cranking. We had our atmospheric rivers during Christmas. Got a little break. We're right back on it as we get towards New Year and past New Year, especially. So let's talk about what has really changed in the long range, okay? Because there has been some pretty impressive trends for the east. Not, honestly, for people who don't like the snow, I'd say. Like, it's not looking as good for snow lovers. I'd say just based off the latest trend, it's very far out. It's going to waffle a bunch. We're going to explain why it showed this and how it could change. But yeah, right now, pretty classic positive PNA though. This is basically now 6 hours behind. Trough in the east, ridge in the west, spiking up almost through Alaska, and you have your negative NAO east base. At least it seems to show on the Euro. You do start to see it kind of retrograde west. You get a deeper trough, a little deeper ridge. I'm telling you, if this trough was a little more west, or this short wave right here kind of ejected, this one right here kind of coming through, this is the New Year's piece. If it was a little back over here, you could honestly get a substantial winter storm for portions of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, but fortunately just ejecting a little too east for anything. That's why you get that storm to swing up and cause major snows further to the east up into eastern Canada. So what do you get? Now you start to see a negative PNA. Why? Negative NAO is a little weaker on this model run. You get this trough, you get this ridge, you get this trough. Okay, I think is what you call it. It's an omega block is basically what you call it. Okay, because it makes the shape of an omega. So you have that kind of coming through. There's your trough. It tries to hold on, but then you get your ridge. This is January 9th. If we go back a couple runs, okay, no, we'll just go back to 12Z Monday. Different picture. Okay, maybe 18Z will show better. Yeah, different picture. Trough in the east. This still looks like a Omega block. Okay, you know, let's just do 12Z. Here, you have your trough right here. It still looks like an Omega block, but the trough reinforces itself because the negative NAO stays anchored and strengthens and stays west based. Why do you have that not on the latest 12Z? Well, you have a ridge because that negative NAO doesn't stay as anchored. It's still there, but it's a little weaker. And your ridge in Alaska is basically non-existent. You have this trough through here. This is later. So then you start to get this like negative PNA pattern through here. Okay, and so this, honestly, Eastern snow lovers don't like to see. It does look to get a little better later in the month, but just a complete switch around. Pretty interesting to see. Okay, I mean, if we can compare, it's these very small changes. But look at the negative NIO. See these deeper reds, and then you got to here, little weaker, a little north, a little less west base, and that's kind of one of the main factors. Okay, and you also don't have a 50-50 low to keep cold anchored in place. Here, you'd have that 50-50 low up here, some sort of trough there. But generally, it's just not as supportive. Okay, it's these very small changes. I mean, even as a weather enthusiast as me, it's so interesting to see how small these changes are can impact the bigger picture of the entire forecast. So, but yeah, that's about it. This could easily, we'll probably see this waffling back and forth over the next couple of days, and won't really get a good idea through maybe up to a week, honestly. Maybe a little less than that. But we'll see how it continues to trend. Not good for any snow lovers in the east overnight and through the day today, but just as easily can waffle back tomorrow. So it's something to watch out for, and I'll keep you guys updated on what's to come. So if you did enjoy this video, again, please consider subscribing, liking, sharing with friends, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow.